This is going to be challenging. I want to talk about conflict. Conflict. It's challenging for me because I recognize I have great undealt with issues about conflict. What's happening with me and conflict? I don't know how everybody else deals with conflict, and we all have conflict in our life, apparently, because we live among humans, and humans, they experience conflict with strangers or with their loved ones or with people at work, with their customers, wherever there is conflict. However, this is not to spread the idea of conflict, that I talk about conflict, but to understand the need for conflict. Is there such a thing than a need for conflict? When we have a negative behavior, according to psychology, there is a need in us to have that behavior because we benefit from it. How can we benefit from conflict, and why keep it in our lives? I don't know how much talking about the past is going to help understand the situation of conflict. We could tell stories like, when I was a child, my brother or my sister were older than me, were in conflict with me. It was living in a house of conflict. There wasn't much love and affection, and it was mostly conflict. I could say that and then say, okay, it comes from the past, therefore, how do I deal with it today? Can I let go of conflict today in my life? I am whatever age I am now, 45 this year, and I have, as far as I remember, had this, it's not paranoia, but it's difficulty to relate to others. Relating, conflict, that's cool, conflict with the peers, okay, there is that as well in the past. Not really getting on with people my age, nor with the teachers. And the very few people I got on with, it ended up in betrayal, or when I was older, in just we lost touch. So I try to, yes, understand the conflict that I've had in my adult life when I came to England at 18 and stayed in England just to get away from the conflict I felt in my own country among my family and the people I was around with. Coming to England didn't mean the end of conflict. I wanted to be liked, and I did everything to be liked. And when I found it didn't work, usually at work, because I didn't have much of a social circle, being extremely shy and feeling extremely awkward. So the conflict always erupted. If I think about every place I have worked in, there are very few places I have not experienced an inner very strong feeling of conflict, either with a manager or with a worker, a co-worker. In fact, I can think of one place there wasn't conflict, and it was in a warehouse packing laser pens. The manager was really cool and friendly, and the other worker was pretty relaxed too. So even, oh no, the boss was very friendly. Yes, that's right. But that's the only place I can remember where there was no conflict. And yes, and they had to sack me because the laser pens didn't sell well enough, or it was a temporary job. But everywhere else, my days were decorated in my head with thoughts of uneasiness and sometimes hatred towards a member of staff or a manager who did not like me. That issue with feeling disliked by another person, I took so much at heart that I thought about it all day long. I could not think about anything else but them and how much they disliked me, how their behavior towards me was difficult for me to live. And of course, I was too incapable of talking to them and confronting them. It was too difficult to go to them and say, look, so and so, I feel you don't like me. Have I got that right? See, that's too hard to say that. But if I had been brave enough to say something like that, the other person, taken by surprise, would have said, in most of the cases, where do you get that from? Of course I don't mind you. Because they don't want to look like a bad person, do they? They don't want to say, yeah, actually, I don't like you. No, I wish you weren't here. So, source of conflicts carried on in my life. And when I got a little bit settled, when I stopped doing all the sort of low jobs that people without any qualifications like myself can do, and my life got a little bit easier, I still managed to find conflict with whoever I lived with. I lived in a squat once in London, and the person there, well, he was pretty mad. I don't like judging, but I think he was a bit of a nutter. He shouted a lot, so I had to change squat and go next door. And next door was very nice. I didn't have any conflict with anybody there till new people moved in. And of course, when they did, the equilibrium with the three of us was broken. Drugs came in. Well, drugs were already there. I wasn't interested. They were taking them, like amphetamines. I didn't know what they were, but it wasn't the sort of thing I did. But the new people, unfortunately, well, I left the squat and they were into heroin. And I'm glad I didn't see that. It wasn't very good. To go back to conflict, after that I was living for free with a friend, and it was a bit like a relationship, but that was also punctuated with conflict on my part. Why? Because I suppose I had got used to conflict by then, and when we repeat negative thoughts, they get ingrained, don't they? Maybe it's that, or maybe it's just that I felt I didn't deserve happiness, therefore I had to be in conflict with him. After him, it was, well, various boyfriends. Conflict with them didn't last very long. After that, the other industries that I've spoken about, conflict there with the other girls, at the clubs. It's not conflict with everyone, but it's conflict with one or two, and I felt so sensitive about not being liked that I just made a huge dish out of it. I just could not think of anything else but their behavior towards me. That's okay. And it has carried on in my life. What about after that industry conflict? Well, there was a huge period of conflict with boyfriends that it could have sort of worked with, but it didn't. Probably for the better. I mean, it's looking back, I would be married with children probably today, so I'm glad it didn't happen. Nothing wrong with that, of course, but it wasn't for me. And then another, good relationship, punctuated with conflict, and then friends, and then falling out. but it's mostly me that initiates the falling out. I can think of a good friend who was older than me, a lady friend, and falling out with her because she invited a boyfriend to my house without really telling me. The boyfriend turned up at the beginning of the flu pandemic. He was coughing all over the place. He said he had caught a cold, so I forcefully demanded that he sprayed colloidal silver in his nose and gave him some propolis, which is antiviral. And he was a bit upset about that. Hold on a minute. Am I doing? Yeah, I'm doing the right weights. But she was not very comfortable. Both of us had been to the market. It was Christmas time, so the markets were really tiresome. That guy turns up and he has a loud voice and he doesn't stop talking. So you can imagine the kitchen, me really tired, someone being the center of attention suddenly turns up, breaks the bond that I had with that friend. And I don't want him here. It ended up in conflict, but being a grown-up lady, grown-up person, I thought I'd try to get them both to open up and talk about the fact that we weren't really comfortable with each other. And my friend got really, really upset. She said I was being... What did she say? I can't remember. It's so long ago now. I forgot to remember the details. I was being authoritarian. Me? Authoritarian? Fucking hell. Bloody hell, that's a compliment, I think. Because I'm usually the doormat, if nothing else. So, good, authoritarian, well done. Anyway, the next day morning, she was in tears. The boyfriend hadn't stayed because he thought I was really rude. And I hadn't welcomed him because she was supposed to move in on the property with me and my landlord at the time. And in fact, it happened that it was for the best. She didn't move on to the property because it would have been difficult. She has a lifestyle that's a little bit... we won't judge. It doesn't matter. But the bloke, she's still with him. I don't know what she finds in him. I think he's a total prat. Yet he was a really nice person when I first met him. So I don't know what happened, why he changed. Maybe I just didn't know him, and when it was in my own space, I just couldn't stand him in my space. I didn't want him there. I wanted to rest, I wanted quietness, and I didn't want some person just being loud. And I went to bed. And you know what? I thought I handled it really well, but seeing how it happened the next day, how upset she was and how terrible I was and all that. I guess it didn't go that well. So my attempts to calm the conflict by talking about it hadn't worked that time. Who happens then? Then I fell out with my old good friend for 18 months. But then that's because I was going out with another guy and he was my ex, and being my ex, he was a problem in my new relationship because our loved ones in relationships usually do not accept that we are friends with our ex in case we have sex with them again. If they're an ex, it's for a reason. It's because we don't really want to be physical with them anymore, isn't it? If we wanted to be physical with them, why lie? We might as well stay with them or declare it's an open relationship. Like, we might as well be honest about it. Anyway, that didn't go well. Then I fell out with a boyfriend. Thank God for that. Oh, do you know, the whole thing is just permanent conflict. So at Christmas, I fell out with a new friend whom I got on so well. It was scary. It was so... we had so many points in common So many. And yes, it was scary, and unfortunately, during my busiest period, we were texting a lot, emailing a lot, all the time. It was getting a little bit too much, but I was not realizing it. I was leaving it because that's what I do. I go with the flow till I realize, shit, this is running way too fast. It's taking me to the cascade. The waterfall is coming. Step back, jump on the shore, have a look. I'm leaving this friendship for a while. Yeah, the thing is, when I was super busy, and I was, it's stressful being a chocolatier, like any business that have extra work during the busy times, it is stressful. And he told me I had IBS because I was complaining just about having bad guts, which, yes, I had bad guts. I was feeling generally a bit sick, overtired, overworked. And he tells me I have IBS and I should follow this link, click on it, and go and check what diet I can change, what I should eat to avoid IBS. And it included like not eating milk, not eating wheat, not eating everything that I normally eat. And as I have already an issue with eating as it is, which is getting better lately, I'm looking after myself much better nowadays, which is exciting. Alexandra, who's listening, suddenly being told I had IBS really was like, oh fuck, how dare he tell me that when I haven't really got time to rest. It was so, unfortunately, it was a bit thoughtless, and he was trying to give me advice for a disease he should not be diagnosing me. So I fell out big time with him, which was a relief because I needed the spare time I spent talking to him for myself, to do things like doing my washing, cleaning my house, and thinking about the plans for the chocolates for Christmas. So that happened, and it was a huge falling out. I could do without it, but I could do without this constant texting, constant videoing, constant emailing, constant everywhere for that person, with that person. I cannot cope with that, it's too much. So that happened. Then Christmas, I got the flu. So I was miserable because I was hoping that during Christmas that I spent just with me, I could just do what I wanted to do. And yes, I ended up having the day on my own, but when we have the flu, which I haven't had for 10 years, it's heavy going, muscles ache, temperature, but I take it easy because the flu is only a flu. I don't think it's deadly personally. And I was seeing my other friend, but he was busy with his own family, which is excellent, so I could have some space. But then the conflict came back with the person I had fallen out with, because after a couple of weeks of rest, I thought, okay, let's give him let's see him again, let's have a talk, let's meet and talk. Unfortunately, the flu I had for 5 days, so I was past the stage where I was not feverish anymore. Well, not much. And I did warn him, and I said, maybe you don't want to come because I do have a flu. And he said, no, it's okay. And guess what happens? We don't know where, if you believe in contagion, which I don't anymore. It's very exciting to not believe in it. There's very exciting things. Look up Thomas Cohen and The Truth About Contagion. Anyway, that friend, he went to a restaurant for Christmas, and he didn't feel very well indeed. So that was, he'd seen me on the 23rd. So 2 days later, he goes to a restaurant, has too many drinks, feels sick, and the day after that, he is in bed saying he's not feeling very well, he feels too rough. And when I said, oh, I'm so sorry, you caught the flu at a restaurant, what did I say? Because I had told him and warned him, I don't want him to complain that I've given him the flu. I've kept space away from him. He insisted to come. That was fine. It was up to him. And then his response really got me off the roof. Like, it was, it's not a flu, I got COVID. And I thought, okay, fair enough. Yeah. Okay, well, still alive after 5 days. He must be doing all right, yes. I just felt really annoyed. So I fell out with him again. In my head, that was it. He's an idiot. I don't want anything to do with him ever again. Or at least not for several months, till I can get back to myself and feel a bit more peace inside myself, because I did not feel very peaceful at all. And that was it. January came. A lady contacted me on Instagram saying, I see you like Bruce Lipton. I offer free consultations of 1 hour if you want to try the therapy for free, blah blah blah. So of course I took her up for it on it. The January before, something similar had happened with someone I used to know, and I got enrolled in a coaching program which unfortunately didn't work, which was very expensive. And this time, same scenario. The lady was amazing during the session, and Alexandra, who watches all my videos, will know that it didn't end well. This is a session that I have recorded that is on view on my channel, and where I fell out with the therapist at the end because I dared tell her that I was paying her and I wanted to be heard for the time, and I wanted to work on me and not work on just hear her blabbering on about whatever she wants to say she's expert in. Anyway, so that was it. That was another conflict, but I felt that one, good riddance. I get some of my money back. I've not wasted so much money, and it taught me that I have to learn to say what I think at the time I think it and not keep it bottled up. After that, who did I fall out with? Oh yes, I had booked tickets to go and see the pantomime with a good friend. How do I explain that one without getting too personal? Let's have a think, let's word it carefully, because I'm going to post this, obviously. Tickets, okay, we had to do 3 things that evening after my, was it after work? No, because I wasn't working in January, I did nothing at all. Oh yeah, I had a sick hen to look after, so I had to be at home till a certain time. Then I could go and see my friend. We could do some sound healing, which is a new thing I've got into lately. Well, not lately, I've been into sound healing for a long time, but with tuning forks. We bought a set and done 21 days on each other of 15 minutes of sound healing tuning forks, which was bloody amazing. But that day we had a pantomime, he was cooking. I wasn't in my normal state. I was a little bit elated and feeling particularly vocal and creative. Did brilliant sound healing using my voice and strange words. My friend said, oh, I couldn't relax, this was awful. I couldn't, I kept thinking all the way through until the end. And unfortunately, my ego, darling ego, got upset because I want to be the most wonderful sound something triggering in people, and that didn't work. Therefore, there was something not quite right with that. So I got upset a little bit, but that doesn't matter. That I've got to learn that my ego has to be told to be wise, and I'm only human, I'm only learning, I'm not bloody God nor Jesus. I can't make miracles happen for the moment. Okay. So I have to let go. Yes, my friend didn't feel anything. But the thing is, and I don't know what it happened, as soon as he got off the couch and he said, oh well, yes, I didn't feel very much, it was not very good for me this time, blah blah blah, an old mechanism came into place. I felt I was pulling his strings, and energetically we pull other people's strings, we really do. I've noticed it. I can't really talk openly on here because I can't disclose everything, but in certain states it pulls the strings either in a negative manner or in a positive manner. In this case it was negative, and I don't know what we were talking about. Oh yeah, we were talking about the dinner, that we had to eat the dinner because the pantomime was on and we had to go in, I don't know, an hour, but I had to have my healing session. So I said, oh, can I have my healing session and then we'll have dinner? I don't care about dinner really, which was thoughtless of me to say that, since he spent 2 hours preparing dinner for us, and really I should have honored his dinner a lot more than I did. But I wasn't interested in dinner because I was feeling creative. I wanted to explore the creativity. So we started arguing, and I watched us. I was arguing with him, which is quite rare. We don't argue. That's a rare occurrence. So, and I said it out loud a couple of times. I said, "What? Why are we arguing here? What are we arguing about?" But we were arguing, and he was arguing, I was arguing. What the fuck? What's going on? No idea. No idea at all. And when we finished arguing, I had my healing session, which was, what do you call it? It was, it was very relaxing. We ate the dinner in a rush. We'd stopped arguing at that point. Went to the pantomime. Well, I wasn't so keen on it personally, because there was a song about McDonald's and Pizza Hut and KFC, and I thought that's fucking shit. I mean, who wants to publicize these shit establishments where people get themselves bad health eating that rubbish? But it wasn't just that. I thought it wasn't very good. The room felt weird. I felt a spike in the throat again. But we won't talk about that here. So the panto didn't go well. We had another day to do sound healing. We talked. Oh, so the last day of the sound healing, I went for my Cambo session, and I nearly fell out with the practitioner there. Nearly, as in, I could see he was not responding well to me. I felt he wasn't giving me as much attention as the other person who was there. Because I was second, the other person, I would say, was more genuinely, emotionally involved with his detoxing. And he was crying, which was amazing. I'm so glad. It's wonderful to see a man cry and get all these shitty emotions that they've, held up inside for so long. But when my turn came, the music was too loud. I couldn't stay on the toilet long enough. He was pushing me to get back to the room, which I didn't want to go back in anyway. I nearly fell out with him, but I managed to say to him, look, I'm grumpy. I'm not getting on very well with you. And suddenly he accepted that. He didn't say, oh yes, I feel like you're a bit of a hassle, pain in the ass. He didn't say anything like that. He sort of took it on himself to look, like in control, and he's a wise person, he's a nice leader, which he is, a really, really nice leader, nice person. But I was like that. But it could be that the detoxing was working on the conflict itself. Because I had, as I said, this conflict thing with people. It's present in my mind and it's around me all the time. So that was it. And then after that, I saw the friend for the last sound healing straight after the Cambo. And after that sound healing session, which I have recorded, and it is on this channel, I said to him, I felt really good, and I felt I was happy again. And unfortunately, that's saying too much, isn't it? Unfortunately, after that, I was angry again with him. It took me a couple of days to think, no, I'm not happy. We both were arguing, and now I'm in a space where the feeling of conflict is present again. But if we look into the conflict itself, whenever I fall out with people, I feel relieved because I must be false with them. In some ways, I must be doing something wrongly. How to explain? So that's where I go back to the idea that I am getting a benefit out of falling out with people. I'm having a benefit from the conflict, but also I am wired into conflict. And it gets to the point where today I could not go to a sound healing group because I felt I wouldn't like some of the people were there. Either that I would feel really awkward with them, I would feel like shit, and I just don't want to be around people when conflict is all around me. It's just so difficult to deal with conflict. I know there is something that I need to work on. It's obvious. I won't say there is something wrong with me. There obviously is, but I can't say it like that because otherwise I'm not giving myself any favors. Why am I conflicting with people? It's like I need conflict in my life. I could have stopped that dehumidifier. It's loud, isn't it? Never mind. Why do I want to have conflict? So Alexandra, now, can we observe this idea of constant conflict? And I've not even mentioned the little conflicts I've had with other friends or with people at the markets. It's like I'm not socially adept. And I know I've not, in my past, when I was a child, I was a loner. I can't blame the past for who I am today. It's a residue. My behavior is wired this way. I could do some EFT on it, emotional freedom technique. I don't know how else to address it. I'm not looking for advice. I'm only talking to myself. But the conflict resonates. It must be the heart center, mustn't it? Conflict. Interesting. Yes, the heart center. See, that's why. There's. I don't go out to see people. I don't accept invitations much because in the past, when I have, it's led to situations where I end up feeling I don't want to be there and I can't wait to go home. And I don't know, it's like my brain is not wired right. And I could blame things like heavy metals, which are well known to cause autism. And I will not mention where heavy metals come from when we are children. We are injected with heavy metals, whether we like it or not, just like we get baptized, whether we like it or not. It could be heavy metal toxicity that fucks up the brain. It could be trauma. Trauma, yes, we know. There is plenty of that around in every one of us, including myself. So the question is, what can I do to deal with my own conflict inside? how can I do to change? Do I need to change my behavior when I am around people? I do, but how do I change my behavior if I do not see how I behave? Which is where I'm really interested in spy cameras. So today I have bought a camera that I'm going to hopefully learn how to use, and I'm going to record myself when I am with people. Because if I could have recorded myself when we were arguing with my friend over absolutely nothing at all useful to argue on, I could then play it back to him and see and say, look, we both are arguing here. Why are we arguing? Let's have a look at it. Because some of our friends do not like to admit that they are arguing. And that is what pissing me off, it's pissing me off most, is when someone is not admitting to being part of the disagreement that is happening. Yes, I know I am trouble, and for that reason I keep away from people and I talk to myself to try and make myself, to work on making myself a better person. Better as in more able to handle conflict. And if I could, I would join, that's the only group I would like to join, is a non-violent communication group. Marshall Rosenberg, look him up. There are some French versions of him. Thomas Dassembourg is excellent, he's got the best voice, he's amazing. But Marshall Rosenberg, an American-born person, he's died now, 2015, but I would love to work on him. I could get his book, and I used to have his book, but I didn't read it. There's so much to read, so little time. Self-help, but it's social help in a way. And I need to understand my behavior. And that's why I was following Julien Blanc as well, because he talks not so much about conflict, but he talks about being our true self, which is extremely important. And I am sure if I could say what I think at the time I think it, regardless of it upsetting the person or not, I would fall out with a lot less people. But it is really hard, but not impossible, to get over the conditioning that I have had as a child. You must be a nice girl, you must smile. Yes, like he says himself, you must wear your nice dress to go and see Granny so-and-so. And I want you to bring back a good points from school and do this and do that and be nice and tidy your room and be nice and be nice. There are guests now, come and say hello to the guests and be nice to them, regardless of whether those guests are welcome in my heart and whether they are nice to me or not. I have to be nice and say hello and disappear as fast as I can, as soon as I can. So I have learned to be nice, and you can tell people who try to be nice or too nice, at least some of us, because we have the forced smile when we talk with others mostly, and even on camera as I used to do, and I don't do so much now. I think my face is a lot straighter now. I don't feel obliged to smile as much to look like I'm nice and easygoing, which I'm not at all. I'm not bloody easygoing. The worst person you could think of being easygoing is me. I'm not, anyway. Yes, the smile is, I know one lady, it's obvious. Those of us who try to be nice, we smile a lot because we want to look nice. We want to appear that we are harmless and we want to appear friendly. So that's one thing I'm working on, which I'd forgotten about till I mentioned it again. Yeah, which is why it's really useful to video ourselves behaving, particularly if we can video ourselves acting with someone else. It's extremely good tool for the personality. So about the smiling, yes, I knew one woman, quite an older lady. When she talks, she smiles all the time. It's like you can't talk to her without the grin being permanently on. And that's an extreme of being nice. And she's got huge issue with the throat, expressing what she feels. And she has issues which I believe are caused by her being too nice and not saying what she thinks, therefore bringing problems to her body. And I know some people in my family also have that over-smiling syndrome, where they feel obliged to smile. Someone very close to me is one of these people. You want to see the tractor? Yes, there's a tractor. Can you see it? No, you can't see it at all. Oh, hello. Oh, hello, Toby. Can you see it? Oh, you can see the wheels. Oh, that's enough. Enough of the tractor, isn't it? Oh, go on, we're going to see it. Let's have a look at the tractor. Old tractor, oh, look at that, lovely. Yes, yes. Okay, we've seen the tractor now. Yeah, the over-smiling. I've met a few people, like there's a sound healer online. I forgot her name. I've seen a few other videos. There's another smiling thing with her, but she seems very open here, so I wouldn't say that she has issues, but then we don't know what her personal life is like, but she over smiles. Smiling is nice, but there are times and places for it. We don't have to force ourselves to be a fake version of us, which Julian explains very well, how to express what's going on in our heads, a narrative. That's about it, really. So, to go back to the conflict and the permanent conflict in my life. Alexandra, I'll look at you rather than looking at the screen. How are we going to deal with this conflict? First of all, you've got to believe you are in your own power, that you are a sovereign being. You are not an object, you are not there to please others, and you are not there to exclusively please yourself either, because you are not a selfish being. So, to deal with that, well, this is a step. I've recorded this video and I'm going to watch it and finish packing my chocolate. And it's long enough, isn't it? And it won't interest anyone, so please don't subscribe. Don't like the video. It's probably not for you. It's boring. Go and watch something useful, blah blah blah. You know the rest. And you, Alexandra? Yes, remember you are in your power. Nobody is superior to you, even if they have billions, even if they own half of America and they are a lady really and everybody thinks they are a man. You are not inferior. You are valuable just the same as we all are. You have worth. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to be happy as often as you can allow yourself to be. Le tracteur, le tracteur, le tracteur! Et voilà!